From the cutting edge of anomaly research, you are about to experience The Evidence with your host, 3D pioneer and image analyst with Mars X3D, D.W. Gannett.
Our friend, Sarah Michelle, went home last November. She lost her battle with lymphoma, multiple myeloma, I believe it was. And Sarah had created a wonderful online fashion magazine in Italy called sarahmichelle.org. What was very interesting about Sarah, besides her wonderful personality and sharp intellect, was her fascination with Mars anomalies. She formed online relationships with the real Jimmy Roberts one and also my friend Chris Maroney over at Mars Anomalies and Beyond. And was interesting in promoting what they had to say when it came time for her to graduate, so to speak. And we wondered what was going to happen to that magazine, but one of Sarah's closest friends in the business is Julia Gali, and she has taken up Sarah's mantle. She will be premiering the newly revamped version of sarahmichelle.org this Monday, February 1st. A link down below. I do encourage you to go have a look at it and join us, because Jimmy and myself and Chris will be represented there under the heading of unauthorized photography. I like that. So we're very excited about that development and look forward there. You know, there are a lot of things going to be included. It's going to be a premier news outlet, not just design and fashion, that'll still be there, but Mars anomalies and just a whole lot more. So check it out. And you know, isn't it interesting how territorial we all are? I know I am. If one of my finds gets presented by someone else, it used to be that I get kind of upset and I said, oh, I found that first. And hey, I'm over that now, long time over that. But I get it. That's just a human response. And so Terry Burnett let me know that the statue I presented last week as Alexander Lea's find was something that he had actually run across prior to that. So we're giving Terry Burnett the kudos on that particular slide. And yet, for all our human tendencies, isn't it interesting that we can just relax and understand that the quest itself is addressed, that we're amassing this body of evidence, that it's getting presented to people who need to see it? I think that that's a healthy thing, but the world keeps changing. Now, you know, I've kept this ad free, this channel, this whole time, because I didn't want to interrupt the viewing experience, and I want to maintain that, I really do. But I'm forced now to consider the fact that this is a full-time job I've taken on. I'm doing 40 hours a week plus, doing all the things necessary, running all the equipment, paying the electric bill, taking care of all these other expenses with it. And so I'm wondering if I couldn't just put a Patreon account underneath here linked, and that if you choose to support this work, even if it's $1 a month, you know, that would help me out on this end, and it'll keep this channel free of ads. That's entirely up to you. There may or may not be a response. I'll just leave it in God's hands for that one. And you know, I have something to announce. We are going to attempt our first live hang Tuesday, February 2nd at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Mark it on your calendar. You know, I have no idea how to do it or how it's going to turn out, or indeed if anybody at all is going to show up, but your buddy Dave will be here, and I'll be happy to talk and answer questions and, you know, just see where the energy leads, so to speak. So, you know, some of you might have noticed that when you relax, completely in your chair, hands face down on your lap, and your eyes completely relaxed into X3D mode, you might have discovered that you can move around inside those images. You can go to every corner, every side, any place you choose to focus. It's almost like you were on the surface, actually present, being able to walk over and examine things. Now, for those of you who haven't quite reached that level of relaxation with X3D, that's okay. Don't worry about it. It's just natural, and it comes along organically. You don't have to worry about it. But we do have a lot of things to look at today, including what I call some little round things. That kind of fascinated me. I don't know, maybe you'll like it, maybe you won't, but listen, I sure hope you'll think about subscribing. I think you'll consider being a patron in your conscience. That'd be great. If you do, great. If not, that's okay too. And let's quit talking. Let's dive into the goods. Let's start out today with one of the beautiful G-Max that my friend Neil Spence turns out. This one is 2819, and you can see that blocky thing inside the red target. Any closer and we'll be at the pixel breakup point, but even so you can clearly see that this is artificial. We have what might be carving along the edges and on the front facing us, to say nothing of the 10 right angles I see present. There are also small splashes of color, which may be an image artifact, but who knows? We've seen some amazingly colored objects on Mars. I wish we could see the top better, because it looks like there's either carving or some kind of mechanism inside the top of the lid. Whether this is a container, a block, an ancient machine, or even just a miracle of erosion, it's hard to resist the desire to walk over there and check it out more thoroughly. What a day it will be when archaeologists not only get to Mars, but are finally allowed to publicly share what they find. I don't know why, but I've been running across a lot of holes recently. Some folks get confused by the laser holes Curiosity drills as part of its mission. That's not what I'm talking about. Even in this context view, you can see some of the holes inside that yellow box. The holes and that dog leg cut in that rock on the left seem too regular, too evenly spaced for me. But when you look around, you'll find more. Like over here, a beautiful square block with 3 evenly spaced holes of the same diameter at a diagonal across the corner. Or how about this piece that might even be a part of the rock on the left, if it's a rock? Take a look at this while we do a quick inventory. The base in shadow is perfectly rectangular. The top edge facing us has a clean 90-degree notch on the left side. The left edge has 2 evenly spaced rivets or knobs. The top curves gracefully around to the right and has some interesting markings on it, and you might have noticed the right edge. There's a symmetrical protrusion sticking out into the sunlight right in the middle of that edge. One of those little details that's easy to miss. Of course, if you start bringing that level of attention to detail to the surrounding objects, it soon becomes obvious that most of what you see here simply isn't rocks scattered about. Now we're going to take a look at some round things I ran across this week. A trio of tantalizing treasures to titillate your terrible tendencies to tag the unknown. I spend hours each day exploring the surface of Mars in 3D. That's my kind of fun. An ongoing treasure hunt full of surprises and often downright mind-blowing encounters. It seems there are a lot of what appear to be smallish mechanical parts scattered everywhere. They often look like old alternators, generators, electric motors, and even sometimes the Antikythera device. You know, that 2,000-year-old analog computer some divers brought up off the coast of Antikythera near Greece back in 1901. It's dated back to somewhere between 100 and 200 BC. I kind of think the devices we're finding on Mars date back a little farther than that. Anyway, let's look at some round things that showed up just the other day. Look at the radial spokes, the gear-like perimeter of the round part, the symmetrical stacks or layers on the right sporting knobs and dimples. I used to have knobs and dimples, but that was a long time ago. And while you're at it, look at all those blocks scattered around. Looks a lot like brickwork, does it not? And here's one Terry Burnett shared with us that he calls manufactured. I really can't argue with him about that. Most of you mechanics who work on your own car will probably be tempted to call this an alternator. The central pivot, the cooling vents, the mounting bracket. Of course you're completely nuts, but at least you're not alone. And look at those parts in back. And for the last of our trio, take a look at that round piece of something near the top of the ridge inside the green target. I gotta tell you, the Martians, like the ancient Sumerians, must have had hexadecimal mathematics, 'cause we find 6-sided artifacts all the time. I called this one a concertina, 'cause, well, it looks like a concertina, kinda like this. I'm sure this isn't any more a musical instrument than a concertina is. But what is it? Just do a quick visual inventory on your own, from front to back. If you still insist this is just a rock, maybe you should take up concertina, if you can squeeze it into your schedule. We'll wrap things up today with a beautiful pyramid found by Terry Burnett, which he found over on Midnight Planets. There's a link down below if you're not already familiar with this great resource, and I encourage you to go check it out. Sadly, Midnight Planets is no longer updating their database, but there's so much material there that it's basically a hall of mirrors you can get completely lost in. This is a telephoto shot, I believe, with the 100mm mast cam, so that perfect pyramid is a good mile away at least. I tried to get metrics on this, but there were none to be had on the analyst's notebook. Bottom line, this is a big sucker, probably at least the size of the Great Pyramid of Giza. I've broken my own rule about zooming past the breakup point, but I wanted you to have a good look at this, despite it being pixelated. Some of you might have noticed that dust and sand doesn't just blow around and pile up in a pyramid shape. It makes dunes. It makes rounded mounds and ridges, but it doesn't make pyramids. Look at the straight edges and the overall symmetry. Most rational people seeing this on Earth would immediately think to themselves, hey, that's a pyramid. But since it's on Mars, and obviously and very scientifically, I might add, it cannot possibly exist, it's just chance erosion of an outcropping. I still haven't figured out how the wind can carve symmetrical right angles and make such a uniform shape on such a large scale, but hey, ignorance is bliss, I guess. I refuse to call it a weather balloon, however. It's more likely a temperature inversion. Well, that's it for another week. If you saw something you liked, hey, think about maybe giving a thumbs up, like, and subscribe, and by all means, please consider becoming a Patreon. This is your buddy Dave. Oh, you know what? Don't forget about sarahmichelle.org, premiering February 1st on Monday. This is your buddy Dave over at Mars X3D. Be well.